Go to sleep. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. I just realized that I had to turn the camera on and the microphone. How does it sound? How's the volume sound?
It sounds good. It was actually disabled, so I enabled it for you. So that's probably why you weren't able to get on.
Okay. So I
But
got
yep,
all
it
the
sounds good.
questions. I got all the questions and I wrote out answers to each question so that I could kind of like stay on task, like, for due to time. I want to
Okay.
make sure like we get through everything. So like when Christina asked me a question, I'm just gonna say switch to the next window, which means I'm going to it's almost like digital note cards. That way I
Okay.
can just answer based off of like some of the answers I've already said.
Oh, fudge.
Sounds good. However, it makes whatever flows better for you. Just give us the word. It's fine. We'll follow your lead.
Usually I'm a person that talks
If it's better for you to do it that way, that's perfectly fine. Christina doesn't necessarily have to facilitate the questions for you. If you just want to go ahead and speak and just flow on your own, that
oh, I
works
like
well
the
as
I like the questions. It's just me. Sometimes I can talk too much, so that's why I made sure to put the answers so that I
okay.
could stay like on time frame so that we could get through it.
Are they
Sounds
sit?
good.
Yeah.
Do you want to enable your camera,
So
Eric?
it's on.
It's
It's
coming
showing us
through.
a
It's
white
just
screen.
yeah.
I
But
see
it's
I see myself.
it's enabled on our end.
Yeah.
Let me check the settings
Can you
again.
see me?
No,
No.
just a blank
Oh,
screen.
Do you have are you on a laptop, Eric?
I am.
Do you have like a little button where your camera is on your laptop where that you have to slide to open and close your screen?
Nothing.
Interesting.
I can see myself on here too. Wake up. Mouse grid 29244. Mouse click. Mouse grid
Yeah,
two
it's
9274. Mouse click.
hmm.
Maybe try to go out and come back in.
Mouse click.
See if that.
Mouse grid. Let me turn the camera off and I'll turn it back on. 3, 5, 4. Mouse click. Mouse click.
I'm at this stage and I'm registered, but how do you get it to come on?
Put it on your Teams.
Go to sleep.
Oh, it's on T?
Anything yet?
No.
No. Do you want to try to leave the meeting and come back in?
I'll do that.
Okay.
Okay.
See you guys Mouse grid.
Later.
Okay, baby.
I gotta go get my midgets.
3.
Tell them we said
6.
hey.
Mouse click.
This girl looks like a supermodel, and she probably doesn't in real life. This one. Oh, there she is.
Talisha, we can hear you.
Somebody's not muted.
No, girl, that is.
There he is. I know I saw him. Did you see him, Christina? I thought I just saw a photo of him.
I'm here.
Hold on. I gotta find your picture because I could have sworn I just saw you. Do you have on black? There you
I do.
are.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hi,
I see him
Eric.
now.
Maybe
Are we able
did
to
you
pin him
me?
for everyone?
Yeah.
Yep, I am doing that right now.
Perfect. And while you do that, I
Good old
will
technology.
go ahead and get us started with a little intro. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We've got quite a few people on the call. I'm going to be our facilitator today. I am Christina Whitney from our DEI Council, and I would like to welcome our guest, Eric Patrick Thomas, aka Mr. Inspire. Eric is coming to us from Flint, Michigan. He is going to provide a Q&A session for today on the topic of National Disability Independence Day, which is coming up on July 26th. This holiday celebrates the signing of Americans with Disability Act, or ADA, in 1990. A brief bio on Eric: he uses his experience to empower resilience and inspire change for people with barriers. In addition to serving the community as a public speaker, both motivationally and at House and Senate hearings, Eric sits on several state boards as a voice for people with barriers, is an advocate for self-determination living, hip-hop artist, D-Man ambassador, and is the founder of Inspire Brand Clothing. Eric is also the proud owner of Easy Awareness by Design, a business specializing in graphic design for custom apparel, signs, and banners, which offer on-the-job experience to people with all abilities. Thank you for joining us, Eric.
Nice, thanks. Thanks for the introduction.
You're welcome.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
And I got all the questions, and I actually wrote out answers to each question, so that way, I didn't talk for one question for the whole hour. Because Christina knows, she actually texted me, it was like, yo, you got an hour.
I mean, I love our conversations, but I know we have a lot of questions today, so I want to make sure we can get all of those answers in, and maybe give time at the end if people have any additional questions.
Yeah.
So, and I know, Eric, you use, is it still Dragon Naturally Speaking?
Yeah, Dragon Naturally Speaking. So when you ask me like a question, I'm just going to say like the wake word, and I'm going to switch to the next window, because I have like my digital index cards basically. So that way I stay on task.
All right.
Yeah, I've been using Dragon for 27 years.
It's awesome. I mean, I think even our providers might use something like that as well for their dictation. If someone knows, they could put it in the chat.
Oh, yeah, a lot of hospital. I see it all the time. They have Dragon Doctor medical version.
I thought so. Okay. Our first question, so I have heard this quote before: disability is the only minority anyone can join in the blink of an eye. Would you say that's true? And could you give us a brief history on your injury?
Oh yeah, I would definitely say that's true. I would just say like this. I was, 20 years old, attending my own party, went outside to check the parking lot, and was coming back in. Someone pulled a gun, opened fire, shot me in the neck from the injury. The bullet is lodged between my C3 and C4 vertebrae, paralyzed me from the neck down. Also not even able to breathe or speak or eat or anything. And so yes, as you said, yeah, it can happen faster than a flash. And from that injury, they also had to put 4 screws in my head and attach the halo to stabilize my neck. They never did any surgery on my neck at all. They just kind of patched it up. I think almost like with a Band-Aid, because it was like liquid that went into the body because it came from the bullet. And then I had tubes, so they intubated me first, down my mouth. So I had that for maybe a couple weeks. So my form of communication was eye blinks. And then when they decided that I would never breathe on my own, they took the tubes out and then they gave me a tracheotomy. And then when the tracheotomy, that's when I started doing tongue clicks. Then I passed my swallow test and I ate my first meal. So that's about, before you know it, October 29th, I was heading to rehab at Craig Hospital. And that's where I, rehabilitated to get off the ventilator. And so total, I was on like the ventilator for about 5.5 months. From hospital to rehab, it was a total of 6 months. September 20th to March 20th.
That is a miraculous recovery for sure.
Yeah, well, Craig Hospital also, they're like boot camp there. To get you off the ventilator, they just turn it off. That's it. They just turn it off. You're like, I don't know if I'm breathing. I learned about a pulsometer, so I used to have them hook it up to my finger, and then that's how I was understanding: am I breathing? Am I not breathing? based on my O2 levels. And so, yeah, that's what they did. Every day they would, well, 5 days a week, they would come in, turn the ventilator off for 30 seconds, and they would come back, then do a minute, then they would come back and do a minute and 30. They do it in increments, and they did it 5
You want me to
days
put it
a week.
all here?
So I heard somebody.
Some may not be muted all the way. Those might pop up here and there. So tell me, what does the Americans with Disability Act mean for you?
I'm going to my note card for this one. Wake up, switch to the next one. Wake up, switch to the next window. Page down. Go to sleep. Oh, also with my injury, see, I should have looked at my notes. I did lose like bladder and bowel function. Sensitivity is definitely like, it's all over the place. My chest is hypersensitive. My neck is hypersensitive. But the way that I was able to get the sensitivity down was going to Joann Fabrics and buying different texture of fabrics and then rubbing them on my body, and it desensitized to where I could actually like wear a shirt and it didn't hurt and things like that. So
Oh, wow.
that was in my notes.
Mhm.
The American Disability Act, you know, it means access and opportunity, equality, but you know, it's the law. But I always make that statement, you know, don't make things accessible because it's a law. Do it because it's the right thing to do.
Absolutely.
But it also is something that protects my rights to live independently, work, and participate, you know, fully in society. You know, without it, then I wouldn't have like legal support, like to access healthcare and transportation, education, accommodations, things that you need every day. So it is kind of also like a safeguard, but it also empowers, you know, people like me to have dignity and choice. So it means a lot to me. It's our freedom, you know, it's like our July 4th, you know. And it also ADA, it challenges society to remove barriers, uh, not just physical but also systematic. So wake up,
Absolutely.
switch the next window, go to sleep.
You and I have known each other for 19 years, and you taught me about self-determination.
Mhm.
And here in Georgia, I believe it's called, and I don't know, terminology could be similar in Michigan. We have a independent care waiver program here, which I believe is similar to self-determination in Michigan. But tell us how you use self-determination.
Well, self-determination is Medicaid funded, so that's the big part. But the way I use it is I have the ability to hire my own staff. I'm able to do interviews. I'm able to do the scheduling. I'm able to get an acting fiduciary. So that's where the Medicaid dollars go. And then those people that I hire, they are they're employed under the fiduciary, but they're still under my, you know, EIN, my name. Like they still had to get their check stamped. Most of it's all direct deposit now, so they don't need my signature. But and then I'm also able, you know, I use it doing my person center planning. So person center planning is where you have your circle of supports, you know, and that's where you gather everybody around and you talk about your goals, your dreams, your worries, or your health. Like, and you put in categories like housing, transportation, health, travel, recreation, and then you break down everything that you want to do for the year and what you accomplished from the previous year. And then people that are there, you hold them accountable when they say, "Hey, I'll help you. I'll help you book a plane, or I'll help you find this." And then so and then you put that plan together. That plan is turned into like Genesee Health Systems, which is here, and that's how they justify, you know, your hours and things like that. With me, it's so large now because I have supportive employment, community living supports. So, you know, 40 hours of business hours with the supportive employment. So, but it didn't happen overnight. This is, you know, little by little, day by day, hour by hour, you know, year by year. So, constantly just at it and learning it.
Yeah, and I think you've really helped other people to implement this in their life as well, which brings me to ask you, what has inspired you to become an advocate and a speaker on disability rights?
Uh, I would say what inspired me. Well, when I first came home, March 20th of '98, in April when I met Mr. Zelli at the Disability Network, that's when like he was just like, you might not believe it. I'm 20 years old. I just got shot. My world's been rocked. I'm barely breathing. And he's like, you'll be able to accomplish whatever you want to accomplish. Just get involved. And that was kind of like that advocacy. I think that I also, though, even before the injury, I have advocacy. I was already like, I'm the person that helps out. Like, you don't have any food, go in my fridge, eat something, or whatever, or like 4 people. Even before that, but I would say that Mr. Zelli definitely got me like inspired as an advocate. All right, let's roll. And then as he took me, like as he said, hey, I need you to go to Washington D.C. And here I am in Washington D.C. I'm testifying in the House and the Senate, and we're passing bills that brought like 100. I think to date, Money Follows a Person had 114,000 people have got out of nursing homes and live independently. It's sweet.
That's
And
amazing.
and that was all done through like Congressman Dale Kildee. Then he puts like this bill together. Then he has to get it introduced. He puts it on the floor, like the proper way, the proper channels and stuff. Then I was able to learn that. And I think that advocacy, you start to see like changes and stuff. And then you also see when things changes don't happen. So it just kind of drives you more. But meeting all the different politicians and just talking about the importance of people with disabilities. Period. Like they have lives, and but I also have a part that I always say, my advocacy also, I pay homage to the people that were before me that blazed the trail and opened the doors for me so that I could do what I'm doing now. And then I advocate for the people that are could get a disability in the future so that they have it, the doors are open smoother for them. And then, I advocate for the present. So, and for the people that don't have voices, there's lots of people. I was put in position to where I was able to network, resource, have a good speaking ability, be able to communicate, get into places that most people cannot get into, meeting presidents or celebrities or whatever it is. Like that, I've met a lot of folks, and you know that, Christina. I've been able to always like, talk about disability awareness, and all the stories that I've heard from people that aren't, whether they're in a nursing home, they've never seen the day of light because they've been in a room isolated, but I've heard their story and their dreams or where they would love to be. I'm able to take that voice and then project it. So
You're getting me teary-eyed over here. I just really appreciate what you do. Switching over to healthcare, can you share maybe one of your most positive experiences in a healthcare system, and then maybe also something that was more challenging?
when you say healthcare system, are we talking about like hospitals?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's go with the positive one first. I would say the positive one is when well, me, I stayed out of the hospital until, what was it? I came home March 20th of '98. I didn't make my first hospital appearance until 2010 after our birthday party when my tube kinked, my suprapubic catheter kinked. Yeah, so I did like 2010, which they were surprised. So, and that was my first experience going to the hospital. But that wasn't the good experience. So I want to get to the good experience. There were other times that I did have to go. And I remember being in ICU when my lungs collapsed in 2018 and I was intubated again, reliving the moment. But a lot of the ICU nurses, they were really cool. They listened, like um, they understood. They allowed my staff to be there. Like there were rules, but they were like, it's okay. Like we understand you need people and stuff like that. The other thing too was just like we kind of had like an agreement, like, hey, like let them help me out because they know my care. When it comes to like IV and all the others, you do that stuff, but they know me more and they know my care. So it was kind of like this mutual thing. That was a good experience because even when it came to like doing bowel programs and stuff, some of them had no clue, you know, because they just didn't do it that way. So they let my caregivers, come in and, do what we could do. I would say that was the positive experience. That's just because they listened to what I was saying. They understood me. They knew that they weren't know-it-alls. And they learned from me because uh, it's just not equipped. It's just not hospital. A lot of hospitals just aren't ready for us. Whether it's lifts or a lot of things. Bad now, not so good experience was the first one when I went to the hospital. They put me on the floor called the junk floor, which is like kind of like where they just put anybody. And I can't remember what floor it was, but it happened to be a bowel program night, and I was like, okay, well, I gotta do my bowel program. They were like, okay, and they like nobody knew like how, and I was trying to tell them how it was. So like, um, we needed like something to put under me. They literally like put newspaper under me. So I was like, okay, this is like what's happening here. And then my caregiver actually did the bowel program. Um, but yeah, we did. I'm not sure why they didn't put chucks and stuff like that. But at that time, I guess I've never really been in the hospital yet. So I just didn't like understand. And then like my leg bag or my night bag, every time they took the bag off, they didn't clean it. So it was just like hanging in the bathroom. And I was like, well, you might as well just give me a new bag then, because I'm not putting that back on. And then like I remember like when someone came to visit, they were like, these bags are hanging all over in the bathroom. It was just and they put me on bed, like they wrote on the board with the marker, it says like this is the patient. It said like bedridden or bed something. What's that called? Where you're not able to get out of the bed.
I think people have used the term bedridden in the past. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Bedbound. Was it
I didn't. It
bedbound?
wasn't bed bound,
Mm.
but I was looking at the board, and all I had was an IV with Dexos. That's it, right? And I was like, why can't I get out of bed? And they were like, do you want to get out of bed? I'm like, yeah, I get in my chair like every day. Like, why are you saying that the patient's got to be bedridden? It doesn't make any sense. And they were like, oh, they could not find a lift, so they went to the no, what's the bariatric unit, right? They thought that they were going to get a lift. The lift was so big it wouldn't even fit into the doorway. So John, my caregiver, he came and brought the transfer board and just transferred me from the bed to the wheelchair. And then I was like, okay, like I just didn't understand anything. And I went outside, with someone was with me. It was just weird. They were trying to they just didn't know. I would say that was the most challenging experience, but it was the first experience. I didn't know you're supposed to put in all your log in your clothes and what you came into the hospital with. They didn't do any of that. I had no written report or nothing. So the hospital advocate busted me out. So yeah.
Well, it's good you had someone on your side to help you through that one. I think there's definitely a lot we could learn about spinal cord injuries, and also about people who already have such a detailed care regimen at home. We need to listen to our patients, and you can tell us more about your care than anyone else can.
Mm-hmm.
What How can we in our workplaces become more inclusive and supportive of employees with disabilities?
Listen to them, ask them questions, don't make assumptions. It's not overcomplicated. Just come right to them and ask them. And it's interesting enough, the disability community, there's inner, where we want this and we want that too. There's battles. When it comes to person first language, some people want person first language. When it comes, some people do not. Some people might want to be known as like the quad or something, or they want to be known as Eric Patrick Thomas that uses a power sip and puff wheelchair. So you just have to ask. That's the best way. Don't assume. Just ask questions, have a nice meeting, have a good talk, listen to them, and ask questions. I mean, and then I would say out that and as the person, but then as you're getting the answers, and that also is saying like your environment, making things assistive technology, making sure that you have things ready for the environment too, accessible pathways, or I would just say accessibility, so that the person did come to get hired, things are already ready for them if you don't already have the needs. I don't know. There could be knowing sign language. There could be someone that's visual that might need, maybe they read by braille. There's all different ways. You just have to. There's always a way. You just have to figure it out. There's always a way. There's a way to make. Yeah, there's always a way for it.
And I think you employ some amazing different technologies in your life. Can you kind of talk about some of the technologies that have helped you or that might help other people with disabilities?
Oh yeah, most definitely. So like 27 years, I've been using Dragon. Actually speaking, what I'm using right now, um, I can, I get on the computer, I can sit here and talk to you, I can text, I can call, I can do social media, I can email, I can respond, I can do everything that somebody can do on a computer for their smartphone with Dragon. Actually speaking, naturally. And and then now with the smart home stuff, see, before the CCM unit, these used to be called environmental control units. These things used to be $12,000, $15,000, where you would say, "Hey, Alice, turn on my light." That was $15,000 for you, and you added an assessment. An assistive technology assessment had to come out, so an assistive technology therapist that went to school for assistive technology therapy and a doctor prescription. Just imagine this: just to get an Amazon Smart device, you would have had to go to the doctors to get a script and have the assistive technology therapist come out and do an assistive technology assessment. And then think about that. Now the game has changed. Man, now I got lights. I just say, hey, who I'll say Alice. Well, actually, I have them all unplugged right now. That way they didn't go off. But I can just say, turn the light on, turn the light off, turn the TV on, TV off, fan on, fan off, arm my house. I got the ring, the smart stuff. So I'll just tell her, I'll say, hey, I'm leaving now. She'll be like, all right, I'll put it on away. So she'll actually put the ring on away mode for me. And then any of the stuff I want to look at the cameras, I'll just say like, hey, show me front door, and I can see it. It's all through voice. With other assistive technology, my straw to my chair. I drive my chair with my sip and puff. Let's give it a hard puff forward, hard sip backwards, soft puff right, soft sip left. I'm able to do weight shifts independently. All I gotta do is just puff on the straw, go into a mode, try and get them every 15 minutes. I probably haven't done a weight shift since we started, but I do try though. Like I'm very aware of shifting my weight and getting the weight off my booty. Other assistive technology that I use personally. I used to have like a door assessment or open sesame where the door would just open and stuff by voice. Of course, out in the community, there's push buttons, but I don't push them, but sometimes I try to hit the chair on them or something like that. I like the stuff where you just roll up to it and then the beam breaks and it opens up. That's nice because then you don't have to touch anything. But other assistive technology, you've been around me so long.
You had that feeding robot for a minute, but maybe it didn't work out so nice. I don't know.
I was just testing it out for them and giving them feedback so that they could, really go back to the drawing board and kind of enhance it. I thought it was cool. Obi, I was like, hey, Obi, or no, I used the sip and puff thing. It had no interaction like Alexa. So that was kind of missing too, because I was just giving it and it needed to have some type of interaction, like come here. But then when I would take it to the restaurant, it's so big and it's like you put it on the table and it couldn't reach me. And I was like, nobody is going to want to carry all this. You're going to have to figure out like a case. And there was a lot of different things. It's interesting though. I mean, I was able to feed myself with the robot using the sip and puff and stuff, which is on YouTube. You just got to find how to train a robot instead of how to train a dragon. Then it was like the Obi, the Obi self feeder. But you're right. And then they took it back, and I was like, okay. But somebody made a purchase from it that saw the video. They
Oh,
purchased
that's
one,
nice.
so I helped them.
Yeah. What are some small changes you think individuals can make to be more inclusive in their daily lives? I think spending time with you has made me more aware. Every time I step in a building, I'm looking for ADA requirements. Is this door frame big enough? Do we have elevators, and are they the right size, and all
Yeah.
of those different things. But what are some small things
Wake
that
up.
each of us could take
Switch to
away?
the next window. Page down. Page down. Go to sleep. I haven't even looked at any of my note cards. So, but I do want to look at this one because I think wake up. Page down. Wake up. Page down. Page down. Page down. Page down. Go to sleep. What you just said, being aware and respectful, using person first language, asking before helping, and not making any assumptions about what someone can or can't do, making spaces physically accessible, keeping pathways clear, being mindful about parking, definitely accessible parking, and just listening and including people with disabilities in conversation and activities. That's really what's going to create the belonging environment. Um, you know, it starts with everyday kindness, respect, and treating everyone just as full members of the society or community. Wake up, switch to the next
Absolutely.
window,
I think I've been with
go
you
to sleep.
before, where someone might speak to your caregiver first instead of speaking to you. I think I've witnessed that before
Many
when
times.
we've been out in public. And can you kind of just speak to that? And
Oh yeah. Well, not just even speaking to your caregiver. I've had doctors do that. I went to an appointment and my stepdad, and the guy kept talking to him. He's like, I'm not with, talk to him. Like, and he was like, oh, talk to him. I'm like, yeah, I'm right here. Hi, I speak. And like, I think sometimes they just make those assumptions. Uh, the, I've definitely been at the restaurant where the waitress has asked someone else, so what would he want? They're like, ask him. Like, ask him, oh, what would you like? And then pat me on my shoulder, like, oh, would you like a little kitty cup? I'm like, do patronize me. I think when I was at Red Robin, the girl asked me if I wanted uh, she might have said sippy cup, like, because she didn't know I could use an actual glass. And we were like, okay, okay. I've also had where the people yell, like, hey, what would you like? I'm like, I don't move. I can hear. So they yell louder to think that that's gonna make me like, no, I can hear you. I can hear you fine. Just don't move from the neck down. And I guess the other thing too is where people try to shake my hand all the time.
yeah,
That weirds them out, especially like at a business. You got like this like powerful CEO, and they're like, oh, and then they go to shake your hand, and you're like, I'm like, I'm pointing to the straw. I'm like, mm. They're like, why is he want to shake my hand? This is so disrespectful. They're like, what is he too good? You know what I mean? That's going through their head. Like, he's too good to shake my hand. Like, then I'm like, dude. I'm like, I can't. Then I'll be like, I'm not able to shake, but you could shake me. Give me a tap or something, a bump. And then they get kind of weirded out. And 5 minutes later, if it's worth it to rekindle that relationship, I'll go back and I'll be like, look, this is what happens. It happens all the time. Don't let it mess with you. Now this is what I have important to say. A lot of times I go and talk to people, they're not listening to what I say. They're thinking like they're looking at me and going, oh man, how does he live like that? How does he move? What does he do? How does he get out of bed? Oh man, that's not me. So that could not be me. That's what happens. And I know because I'll go and talk to that person a few minutes later and be like, I know exactly, I'll ask them. be like, hey, were you thinking this and this and this? They were like, yeah. I'm like, well, because I dealt with this many times, but now I just want to talk to you and get you to understand this grant that I'm trying to fill out or something, you know.
Back to business.
Back to business, got to roll them in.
Speaking of, are there any current policies or legislations that you're passionate about that support disability rights?
Wake up, switch to the next window, page down, go to sleep. I definitely had to write this out, especially when it's considered the actual bills. So, I mean, I would say usually on my radar, I'm very passionate about any policies that protect or expand access to services like Medicaid, because that funds, you know, your home and your community-based services, period, like all day. Without the Medicaid, I would not have my caregivers, my business, my life, you know, and other people wouldn't be employed too. So it's a big trickle effect. So I really try to protect that. We won't even go in there because that could be a week of what just happened. But I would say that's very important because it is vital for us to live independently and to have a full, you know, quality of independent life. I also look at legislation that supports and strengthens the Americans with Disability Act, which we're talking about today, because we want to make sure that we can keep that in place. And if it expands, it can be better, especially right now we're in the digital world. So we have to really think about the digital accessibility, websites and social media and things like that. And that wasn't thought about then in 1990. So here we are now. And that's a big thing. It's real big. So it's just a whole nother thing to look for. So those are mainly the ones I look for when it comes to legislation. But right now, which I wrote down with my voice, there is the SSI Savings Elimination Penalty Act. That's going to raise the asset cap from 2,000 to 10,000 without a person losing benefits. It also allows people with disabilities to marry without being penalized, going from a 3,000 asset to a 20,000 in asset. It's a start. It still has a long ways to go. And that right there is only for SSI, so it's not even for SSDI. But I'm still, hey, wherever it starts, I'm down for it. You know, the other thing that we've been battling for, I don't know, ever since I've been advocating, is sub minimum wage, and we were getting some good traction on the last administration because they were starting to withdraw, or I mean phase out the sub minimum wage, which is the 14C certificate, which basically states that federally in this country, if you file for a 14C certificate, you can pay someone under minimum wage. Someone like me, an employer could pay me 25 cents to $2.50. It's part of the 14C certificate. A lot of that stuff happened in sheltered workshops, but it goes outside of sheltered workshops. So that's something that we've been trying to just get rid of. And there's a lot of controversy with it, but it looks like a lot of states are starting to develop their own way of getting rid of sub-minimum wage. So we'll see, but that's called, just look up sub-minimum wage, 14C, wake up, page down, go to sleep. And for some reason, the US Department of Labor, under this now administration, has withdrawn the previous administration, phasing out the section. So I guess it's not important to them right now, which the last administration, they were starting to phase out and get it on the table, but it's still, you got to get a bipartisan and get them involved. But federally, yeah, employers can continue paying certain workers with disabilities less than standard minimum wage, and that is messed up. And I feel like every news media should just be talking about that, because especially when they talk about, diversity and equity, inclusion, and different things like that. you barely ever hear about sub-minimum.
I've never done this. So here we are. Girl named her mother baby.
Wake up.
I put in there service.
Switch the next window.
Much, so
Go to sleep. All right.
Um,
So yeah, those are the different things that I myself look for.
Thank you for sharing that with us. That gives us something, we can keep in mind when we are writing our senators. What advice would you give to young people with disabilities who are or someone who's just beginning their journey with a disability or exploring independence?
I would say that, take it day by day. Take it day by day. If you're able to, talk to other people that have disabilities, then that's a good thing. Get that experience, listen to their stories, get involved. Unfortunately, you got a responsibility. You kind of like become this like superhero responsibility of advocacy because it's an underrepresented community, and the more people that we get to advocate and start to be really strong advocates, warriors, then the better it is for anybody else, coming after them too. I know some of the people don't want to. They're like, oh, I just want to have my disability and my life is shattered right now. But if they get involved and they start to get advocate and they start to advocate for themselves, they use their voice because they're going to have to too. They use their voice for voting and for, accessible access, for education, for having a job or employment, all the different things. So I guess that's what I would say. I would just say it takes time. Don't get frustrated or discouraged because if I was talking to them, I'm like, hey, I've almost got 28 years. You're still new. So you're going to just have to learn and I'll break it down to them like where my start was and how I was. And like, I didn't know any better in things. Like I didn't vote for 21. I wouldn't vote private and independently. It took me 21 years to vote private and independent. When I first went to the polling location, they were like, oh, you're a caregiver. They can fill it out for you. And I was like, oh, all right. Yay. Great. Thanks. And then I went again and again. Then I started learning, wait a minute, there's voting, there's acts, there's law. Help American Voting Act says every person has the right to vote private and independently. And then so I started pounding it. I was like, hey, I'm getting involved. I got involved when they built the automarts, all the voting machines that you see, the VATs. I was there from the ground up of that, had the voice. And I was like, hey, now they got I got a sip and puff thing that I can vote private and independently. And then when Flint didn't get it for many, many years, I had to get the ACLU. I had to get Disability Rights Michigan. I ended up having to get the DOJ, the Department of Justice, and then we finally were able to get them to get the sip and puff device for me to now vote private and independent. So, they're not going to know everything when they first have a disability. They're just it's just a learning process. I'm still learning. So when I work with, I'm just around people. You circle, you go around other people with disabilities too. Not just your own disability, so that you can advocate for the whole disability community in all. So a lot of times I advocate and I forget about the physical part. Well, I'm like, oh yeah, my friend, and then you got any braille menus here? And they're like, where's the closed caption on the TV? Or oh yeah, so that's what I would say. It just takes time.
Okay. We do have a little bit in the chat. I wanted to share, Samantha Thompson asked, I didn't realize that about the sub-minimum wage. I can't imagine the challenge that poses. What can we do to show support around this?
I would say, Google it and educate yourself, make yourself more aware of the sub-minimum wage, kind of understand it. I would even do like, what are key talking points with Google? These days, utilize technology to help you already have some key factors. And then anytime you have an opportunity where, your legislators are having like coffee talk or coffee with the legislator, they go to coffee houses and they bring in people, or if you run into them, they're everywhere, then to speak to them about it, say, hey, do you know about minimum wage? What's your view? What's your view on this? How do you feel about the minimum wage? And things like that. Just make sure when you deliver, you understand what you're saying. That's the main thing. As long as we know what we're talking about and we're able to speak it to someone, then they can't frustrate you or, mix you up and stuff. No, because that's what they do. They go, oh, you mean such and such? You're like, no, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the H-1BC bill, such and such and such. And then they're like, oh, okay, this person knows what they're talking about. That's what happens. So
Yeah, it's important to educate yourself first.
yeah, and just make it aware. Tell people. Just tell people. Say, hey, did you know about this minimum wage? Hey, did you know? And then just understand what it is and know the facts when you're telling other people. That way we get the truth out there and not social media, recyclable assumptions and everything else. That's the best thing. That's why it was hard for me to do the Medicaid stuff, because nobody had facts. With the last bill that passed, there was just like no specific facts. It was hard. So even I called every legislator, but yeah, that's the best way to do it. Best way to do it is understand what it is and the key talking points.
Okay. And a few
Tell the
others
world.
just echoed that they were not aware of that either.
Yeah.
Rebecca Brandt said that she loves your message of resiliency. There was a question back to the handshake. With the handshake, what is your thought on if I walked up to you and picked up your hand to shake your hand and basically treated you like anyone else?
Ask the person.
Yeah.
Definitely yes. Feel it out. Ask the person, because I'm cool, but there may be other people. They are angry, they are frustrated, and they are waiting to attack, an opportunity to attack. Believe me, everybody is not like, there are people that are waiting for the opportunity, like, did I grab your hand? Like, and it's so, believe me, everybody's not me. So be careful with that. Yeah, I would probably just ask the person, because I definitely, um, yeah, be, be watching. Just fine. Just read them. If you're feeling that they might be feisty, and but just ask them. Say, how do I, or like, how do I shake your hand?
Yeah. I think it's a good rule of thumb to ask for consent anytime you want to touch someone.
I
It's a good
think that's
idea.
probably the law or something, isn't it?
Yeah. Cheryl Howard asked, do you have a book that tells your story?
No, not yet. But I do hear people say, "Oh, you need to, you got to get a thing." I think everything comes in timing. The right timing will happen, and it'll be the right message and the right everything. So, just like the brand, the brand came. If I would have got it any earlier, I wouldn't have been ready for it. I got it at the time that I was ready for it, mature about it. If it was between my 20s and my 30s, Inspire would have taken a whole different route. All the different times I went to the club. Because you gotta remember, I've matured. Like going to the club every Friday and Saturday, and then having the brand, there's just no way. See, it wasn't ready. It was ready for the moment that I was ready for it, and it was just waiting. That's why it's got my name in it. The Inspire's got my name backwards. ERI, and the P is a backwards C. Yep. Power and resilience, inspiring change. Yep.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So I would, yeah.
Anna Bowman asked, we have all heard different ways to describe people with disability. There are a lot of ways that aren't very kind, but from your perspective, what is the best way to say this?
Going back to the person first language and asking the person. I'm like, people want to be known as, I've seen GIMP. They have a podcast called The GIMP or some GIMP something. I've seen Crippled or Crips or the, what was the one thing? Yeah, Crip Camp. The whole, The documentary is called Crip Camp.
Oh,
Yeah, the one that Obama funded. I think it's called Crip Camp. Yeah, so they call it Crip
never
Camp.
heard of
The
it.
actual that was the name of the camp, and I think that's the name of the documentary. So there's not a. I think you're just gonna have to ask the person
Mhm.
and then see how it is. But then if you guys are out in public, and then it's a hard thing. Person first language. Some people with disabilities don't want person first language, like I said. They're like, I don't want that. You got to talk about your disability. If you're a wheelchair user, you tell them, I'm a tetraplegia man or something, or call me tetraplegic or something, or quadriplegic or quad father, or I don't know, like, things like that. And you're like, okay, all right, but it's a preference. There is
Yeah.
no right. There is no right way. But don't go on social media and think that it's okay to like do that because you don't know what's gonna come firing back. Even if I do it, like, yeah, it's a preference. You never know. Um, so, but me, I like person first language. I just like my name. Eric uses a wheelchair. Eric uses smart technology. Eric uses a power wheelchair. I'm not the one. I've heard wheelchair bound. We got this wheelchair bound guy right here. I'm like, okay, it's like, what is wheelchair bound? Like, am I like bound to something? Like bound to, or I like the quadriplegia. I love those too. Or they get it wrong. They'll call me a paraplegic or paraplegic or I'm like, bro. Then you mess them up when you go, well, there is tetraplegic there, and they're like, what? What is that? So they always get it messed up. So I'm like, well, are you saying I have quadriplegia or something? Like they can catch it. It's like, yeah,
Yeah, I
it's all
think
on
you
the
said
individual.
it's important to ask the person.
Yeah.
We got a few more comments in here. Jill
Mhm.
Morgan says, I've learned so much from this session, but asking before helping is one thing I will ensure to start doing going forward.
Yeah.
Cheryl, who asked about the book, she said, thank you for your answer. She will be following. And then Alicia Allison said, your strength, resilience, and positive spirit are truly amazing. Through your story and your unwavering determination, you've shown us what it means to turn adversity into purpose. Thank you for leading by an example and reminding us all that anything is possible. You are a light to so many.
Yay. Thanks.
That's so sweet.
Celebrate. And then what was that? Oh, going back to the one question about she said she'll ask next time. But when it comes to like opening doors, that's like you never know what happens there. You'll be puffing, you're about to almost hit the door. Sometimes people would just like ignore you, and then all of a sudden you see someone like 50 feet away with a cape or something like I got the door. They're like holding here, and they've caused like more obstacles when they have the door that opens out and they've got their arm this way. You gotta like do like the limbo under their arm and stuff. But I'm a different person to be able to talk to them and shed light on it. Other folks might not, but um, should you always ask if you need the door? I don't know. Maybe, I guess, hey, you want me to get the door for you? But then somebody might be like, well, hey, I can get it. That's taken away from my independence. And they're like, I think like you're not going to please everyone. So you may say some things that are going to offend some people. Don't worry about it. Just be like, oh, don't take it personal. Because some people, there's just some people you can't. You could open the door and ask the person, would you like me to get the door for you? And they'd be like, oh yeah, that'd be great. You might ask the person and say, you're taking away my independence. So, and if they do, don't be confused. Just roll with it. So,
We got a couple more comments in here. Manuela says, thank you for the inspiration you give. Carol Phillips says, thank you for reminding us to look at the person and not their disability and to ask before helping. You are an inspiration. Cassandra Bowden asks, where can we find your apparel?
inspireshirt.com. Inspire.
Got mine on.
Yeah. I got mine on. I've only worn it since 2013.
Has that been that long? Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Inspireshirt.com. But you can also like Google my name. Just Google Eric Patrick Thomas. You can follow all the social media. You can find interviews. You can see my music. There's lots. Just Google Eric Patrick Thomas, just like that. Because I always use all three names, and you'll find everything from the website to the Etsy page to the Amazon page to the different retail locations. Yeah, Eric Patrick Thomas.
We do have a question from Casey. Can you maybe speak to some of the challenges? I know this has been challenging for you that you face while traveling, just for insight to extra patience for the rest of us.
That's good. That's a good question. You can also look on my YouTube channel. It's hashtag Journey to Inspire the West. So hashtag Journey to Inspire the West. Challenges with the airplane. Airplanes are not accessible. You'll see how I get on an airplane. Basically, you got to get there hours early. Then you take the chair and you meet at the terminal. And then that's where the people there at the airport, they're going to lift you up out of your chair and put you in this thing called an aisle chair. It's basically like a dolly with a seat. And then they roll you down the aisle. And then they lift you out of that and they put you in an airplane seat. And that's it. It's not accessible. They've started to work on it, but it's going to take a minute. So yeah, you do not roll in there, stay in your chair like you get on a bus or a train or anything else really. That would be like traveling airplane wise, just getting picked up like your gym laundry. That's what I feel like. I'm a duffel bag, like this pick me up. But and then when it comes to also accessible transportation, when I went to LA and the plane got delayed in Detroit, but once we got there 3 hours later. And we went to get an accessible vehicle to get to the hotel downtown LA. We're at LAX. You look there, there's like lights, tons of lights with people, battling to get into a taxi. Come here, come here. And then we were like, where's the accessible transportation? And we're like, we don't have none. We got a bus that'll take you to like the hotel nearby, but they didn't have anything. And then they finally found someone that was like on duty and they were 20 minutes out. And when the guy came, and all this video is on my YouTube channel under Journey to Inspire the West, it's not even an accessible van. He just like opens up the van and then he takes a portable ramp out the trunk, just lays it down. And I'm like, where's the tie downs? Where do I strap down at? He's like, yeah, just get in. So I get in, I'm in the center, there's a passenger side, a driver's seat and a back seat. Somehow I fit in the middle. And then you got my dad and John, and we got 8 duffel bags. It was his. So that was an interesting travel experience. So definitely my YouTube channel, which might be like Eric Patrick Thomas, youtube.com, Eric Patrick Thomas, maybe. But Journey to Inspire the West, you will find how I travel on an airplane, how I travel on a taxi. And I documented it because I had a GoPro camera right to the brim of my hat. So you see my perspective of it all. Everything, how it is when I get lifted out of the chair, getting put in the aisle seat, going into the taxi. You see it from my viewpoint, my level. So.
Thank you for sharing all that. We've got 5 minutes left. Are there any other questions for Derek? If you want to put them in, Derek, oh my goodness, Eric.
That's like me. I guess I'm Derek today.
I literally just had an email pop up from someone named Derek, so that's why. I promise you I have not forgotten your name after 19 years of friendship. A lot of thank you for your inspiration. Thank you so much for this talk. Very knowledgeable meeting. Thank you. Awesome. I'm thoroughly impressed that we got through all of our questions.
Didn't think I was gonna do it, did you?
I mean, that's why I texted you.
I know, I did it. I when you texted me yesterday, she texted me yesterday. I literally spent like from 4:30 yesterday to about 10:30 last night, making sure that I wrote out every answer, which actually I only used the note cards 3 times. So at least I also remembered, but it was more natural too. if I'd have read from the note cards, it wouldn't have been natural. And you know me, I don't like that robotic stuff. So, um, yeah, I was able to do it that way. I was able to stay like it all worked out. See, I didn't want a tangent, nothing. We got through it. We have questions too. We gave them to be able to take questions. See,
There's lots of thank yous in the chat, and Cheryl said this was the best lunch and learn ever. So that's awesome.
That's awesome. 5 stars, 2 stars. What is
right?
that?
Gloria said, thank you so much for sharing information in your story. You are amazing and an inspiration. And a bunch of other thank yous.
I did write out something in closing. I know that we're talking about inclusion, but I will say this. You know that it's DEIA too. That's an interesting thing. The A gets lost, but it's not surprising, but because it's accessibility. Wake up, switch the next window, go to sleep. But you always hear DEI. It's not often that you hear DEIA. Wake up, go to bottom, go to sleep. Wake up, page up, go to sleep. So something like that I've started, this is personally me. I'm almost going to be going on 28 years since I was injured. In the beginning, when we heard inclusion, like the disability community, it was like we were involved. Like we were like, oh, they said inclusion. But then throughout the different years, like inclusion started to, like disability and inclusion kind of often got lost. And so I started saying, well, I don't know. And then I started thinking, I don't want to just be included. And I did describe like what I mean. I want to belong. So the easiest way to describe it, like diversity is like being told there's a party and a mix of people will be there. Inclusion is being invited to that party. But whether or not you show up, no one really notices. But belonging is when you're not just invited, your presence is your matters. You don't show up and people ask, where are they? Did you invite them? Are they okay? They feel your absence. Wake up, page down, go to sleep. That's kind of the difference. I don't want to just be included. I want to belong. So I don't want to just be like something like a box or thing like that. I want to belong in this space where I'm valued, where I'm missed if I'm not there. So where people truly see me. That's my own personal thing, but I have been saying it for maybe like 10 years now. So I say like belonging, but yeah. Wake up, switch the next window.
That was beautiful. Now I'm all
switch the next window.
Again. There are lots of comments saying that they love that and thank you for sharing that. And we need to add accessibility to our DEI name. Then there's lots of encouragement behind that statement.
Wake up, switch the next window.
Well, I want to thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey, Christina.
Yes.
The accessibility part, I did make some examples. Accessibility part is like physical accessibility. That involves ensuring buildings and public spaces are accessible with ramps, elevators, and accessible restrooms. Digital accessibility, this focuses on making websites, software, electronic documents compatible with assistive technologies like screen readers and captions, and communication accessibility, providing sign language interpreters, materials, and alternative formats, and using clear, concise language are examples of communication accessibility. Ultimate goal is to create environments where everyone can fully engage and thrive and without explicitly excluding the accessibility in the acronym. So that's kind of like where the A is, and that's where it focuses in the DEIA.
That's awesome. Wake up, I might have to have you
switch the next window.
I love that. I'm sorry I had cut you off there.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that the understanding what the A is.
Absolutely. Well, I thank you so much for joining us today. And I thank you specifically for the influence you have had on my career as a nurse. I started with you when I was a baby CNA, 18 years old.
I know the growth of it from starting from me. I'm like the training ground.
Yeah. And you have truly
you work with me and like you go everywhere.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It was a blessing to be one of your caregivers and now your friend. And I just am so happy that you were able to join us today and share your story.
Yeah, thanks for having me come
Thank
out and share the story and talk with everyone. All 1 million, right? No.
We had around 115. Yep.
Sweet.
All right. Well, everyone, enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you all for taking the time out of your day to join us.
Yep. Thanks everyone for
Thank
listening.
you. Thank you very
guys.
much.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you.
welcome. You're welcome.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you